What's up, everybody? It is time for that show here at Fantasy Alarm where we break down all the action from Sunday, tell you who did what in terms of snaps, routes run, who was playing, who was benched, who got hurt potentially, all the information we can dig up from these games and our quick reactions to what's happening. Quick shout out to Fantasy Alarm, obviously, but also Pro Football Focus, Pro Football Reference, StatHead, Fantasy Points Data Suite, Sumner Sports, different sites that we kind of pop around, see what we can find. The NFL's own injury information, ESPN, whatever we can find to help us explain what exactly happened yesterday. I know we can't watch every single game. I go back and watch the condensed versions, but we pull a lot of the data from all over the place. So let's get into it, get started right away because there's a lot of games this week. First one here, Cowboys at Falcons. On the Falcons side, it was pretty simple. Drake London and Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod have been the three wide receivers when they go with three wide receiver sets. When Drake London suffered the hip pointer and left the game. Kaderil Hodge took over his job, but Mooney and McLeod led the team in snaps, 57 and 52 for them, 46 for Hodge. They ran 27 and 26 of the 27 routes. Mooney and McLeod did. Hodge ran 21 of 27. So you can expect Hodge to play more, but it's Mooney and McLeod if London are out. With Pitts, he's been doing this a few times, as Nathan Yankee pointed out over at Pro Football Focus. Basically, what they do is in the beginning parts of games, Pitts plays a ton. If they go up big, they actually will lean on blocking tight ends like Charlie Warner and Ross Dwelly, play a little bit less. That's what happened this week. He only played 31 of 57 snaps, 20 of 27 routes. So a lot of times when there's pass plays, he's out there, but if they get a lead like they did this week and Dak Prescott left the game, they just kind of they limit him. I don't know. Maybe they're worried about injury, or maybe they just want better blockers out there, but it definitely hurts his upside a little bit. Bijan Robinson was awesome, 42 snaps of 57. Tyler Algier played 14, but he gets a couple carries every week. On the Cowboys side, CeeDee Lamb was the man until he got hurt and left, but he's getting an MRI. He should be all right. Jalen Tolbert played 73 of 76 snaps, so that's a guy we were already looking at, and now maybe a little more so if Lamb were to miss time. Jalen Brooks was the wide receiver 3. He played 56 snaps. Cavante Turpin played 17. Ryan Flournoy played 17. So one of them would get elevated if Lamb were out for an extended period of time, but Brandon Cooks is also eligible to return. So we'll have to see what happens there. It probably would end up being Brooks. Uh, it would be Brandon Cook. Sorry, the Cooks and Brooks cooked my brain for a second there. It would be Brandon Cooks, Jalen Brooks, and Jalen Tolbert as the three wide receivers, most likely if Lamb were to miss time. Jake Ferguson, good usage, 45 routes run out of 56, got a bunch of targets. So Jake Ferguson is always rock solid in your lineup. Rico Dowdle, 55 snaps out of 76. Dalvin Cook only played 6. So with no Zeke Elliott, that they went that way. They went heavy on Dowdle. And Hunter Lepke, the fullback, did play some pass plays, kind of like Kyle Juszczyk did, but he only played 16. So there you go. That's that game. Ravens at Broncos here. With the Ravens side, Deontay Johnson showing up, they said he was only going to play about 15 or so snaps, and they were right. He only played about 17. Those largely came at the expense of Nelson Aguilar and some at the expense of Isaiah Likely. They ran fewer two tight end sets. Rashad Bateman, I mean, they rotated everybody in general, but Bateman ran 18 of 22 routes, Flowers 16 of 22. Once again, it was a Derrick Henry game, and that happens from time to time. Well, like Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers. Flowers been crazy. Mark Andrews only ran 12 of 22 routes, which we know he's been doing, and he didn't score a touchdown. He's kind of a boom bust touchdown guy at this stage, which is unfortunate, but that's the reality we're living in. Isaiah Likely only 7 routes of 22, so he definitely took a step back there. And then Derrick Henry did his thing. Justice Hill, as we know, plays on pass downs. They only drop back to pass 22 times, 10 of those for Derrick Henry, uh, 14 snaps for Justice Hill. Denver Broncos side, we kind of know what they've been doing. Cortland Sutton has been the top dog, and then they rotate everybody else. So Sutton, 61 snaps, 37 routes. Next highest, Lil Jordan Humphrey with 35 snaps, 19 routes. And then Devon Bailey, Troy Franklin, each played 29 snaps. Marvin Mims played 25. It's a rotation. What are you going to do? We really can't trust anybody but Sutton. Same with tight end. Adam Trotman led 21 routes run out of 43, which is an improvement for him, even though it's less than 50%. Last week, he only ran like 14 of 40. So, you can't trust Trotman, can't trust Nate Atkins, can't trust Lucas Kroll, the Warrior King. Javonte Williams, 39 snaps out of 72. He got the most pass plays and the most carries, but didn't play as much as he has been. Jaleel McLaughlin played 23 snaps. He picked up a little bit more of the pass work. They kind of split the pass work, even though Williams got more run work. Williams is still the preferred guy, but Julian McLaughlin is the guy. Unlike the Ravens, Julian McLaughlin is going to contribute a little bit. Unlike the Ravens, where Deontay Johnson, they told us 15 snaps, he played 17. They told us Audric Estime was going to play more this week, but he did not. He only played 7 snaps, so still waiting on Estime to get more work. Miami Dolphins at Buffalo Bills. The Bills, without Amari Cooper, were kind of just back to what they were doing before, although they already jettisoned Marquez Valdez Scantling. He landed with the Saints, so they can really go back to the old rotation. Keon Coleman led with 52 snaps out of 66. Matt Collins is second with 45 out of 66. Khalil Shakir did his normal thing where he rotates in the slot, but he gets a ton of targets. So he's still trustworthy. It would just be nice if he played more. Only 25 routes out of 41, but he got 7 targets. Dalton Kincaid, good usage for him. 32 of 41 routes. We'd like to see a little more there, but 8 targets, we'll take that all day long. Dawson Knox and Quentin Morris, you can't really trust. They're just not, they're 50% at best snapshot players. Quentin Morris hardly even plays. He just kind of stole the touchdown there. James Cook led the way with 36 snaps, led in carries, led in routes run, led in targets. Ty Johnson got some of the pass work. Ray Davis he only played 9 snaps, but he made the big play there. But if anything happens to James Cook, he'd be a guy. He's kind of tough to trust otherwise. Miami Dolphins side, you know the deal. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, full-time roles. Alec Ingold, the fullback, plays a decent amount, which means they don't use a wide receiver 3, but Ingold got banged up here. So they might have to do a little more multiple tight ends, uh, a little more action with a third wide receiver. So we'll have to see what happens with Ingold. Jonnu Smith played 42 of 61 snaps, ran 25 of 30 routes. Typically, when Julian Hill is healthy, he doesn't play as much, but this is his biggest snap share all year, so something to keep an eye on. And if Alec Ingold's out, maybe he does maintain a higher snap share and 6 targets. Like he's a middle of the pack dart throw if you need somebody for a weekly spot, but could be worse because it's highly consolidated offense. And then running back Devon Achane, 42 snaps, only 14 for Raheem Mostert, but Mostert got 10 carries on those snaps. So, um, I mean, if you like, he got 2 targets as well. So on the 14 plays Raheem Mostert played, they looked his way 12 times. So, I mean, when he's out there, defenses probably should be assuming that he gets the football. But yeah, Achane has just been so good. He's been leading the way. So it's not a true split anymore. Though Mostert still does take some of that goal line work, which is doesn't matter. Achane's in your lineup every single week, no matter what, and Mostert's a spot start, which is nice. Carolina Panthers, no no DeAndre Hopkins here, no Adam Thielen. So it was David Moore that led in snaps, but Xavier Legette was right there. 46 for Moore, 44 for Legette, 28 routes run for each of them. And then Jalen Coker was kind of the third fiddle, but on the back burner, only 24 snaps. So about half the snaps of Moore and Legette, got 3 targets, didn't really live up to the Twitter hype. With no Tommy Tremble, Jatavian Sanders played and looked good once again. I would love to see more Jatavian Sanders, but they just keep wheeling Tommy Tremble out there for some reason. I have no idea because of the Panthers. That's why. Because even Jatavian Sanders goes out there, he looks good, he's productive. They can't pull the trigger on starting him and benching Tommy Tremble because they don't have the stones. So what are you going to do? But Jatavian Sanders, great dynasty stash at this stage, and maybe in redraft they'll figure it out and he'll play more, but probably not. Chuba Hubbard looked good once again, 42 snaps out of 53. Miles Sanders was a distant second at 12 snaps. I'll have to see what Jonathan Brooks looks like when he gets back or when he plays, but up until then, Chuba Hubbard locked in, and maybe even still then. We'll have to see what the split is like. On the Saints side, Chris Olave got knocked out of the game with a concussion, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. In his spot, Mason Tipton played the most snaps, 60 snaps for him. Only got 4 targets though, but still a guy that's on our radar in deep leagues because he's in that Rashid Shaheed role. He just really couldn't reel anything in. Cedric Wilson played the second most snaps at 37. Marquez Valdez Scantling 32. They used a lot of tight ends though. That's what they did. They pivoted to tight ends here. So you saw Foster Moreau 63 snaps, Juwan Johnson 51, Taysom Hill 35, even Darlene Holker, the rookie, played 12. So Taysom Hill will be a spot start because he's getting goal line carries as long as Kendre Miller is out, and Kendre Miller's on IR, and Jamal Williams didn't play this week. Didn't really seem like he had a shot, and they didn't really want to use Jordan Mims much. So, he's a spot start. Jawan Johnson's possible start. Alvin Kamara, though, is obviously the focal point of this offense for the time being. He'll look good, and we'll have to see how things get shooken up after Dennis Allen was fired here. Uh, Bengals at Raiders next game here. No T. Higgins means Andre Yosivas elevated into an outside role opposite Jamar Chase. And they actually did not really use many other wide receivers in the slot with Trent Irwin or Kendrick Pryor kind of each playing like 20 snaps because Mike Gesicki got a ton of those snaps. So Gesicki went out, 6 targets, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gesicki gets elevated whenever T. Higgins is out. So keep an eye on that. Unfortunately, Eric All, the who would rotate at the inline tight end with Drew Sample, suffered a knee injury. We're still waiting on info there, but it did not look good, which stinks because that guy has had some tough injuries throughout his career in college. So we're rooting for him. Hopefully, it's nothing serious, but if it is, back to the dynasty stash bench. He was more of a dynasty guy anyway. With no Zach Moss, Chase Brown played a massive role and he looked really good. So hopefully, he can maintain a bigger role moving forward because he deserves it and he looks really good. On the Raiders side, no change here really on the wide receiver or tight end front. Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker are your top guys. I guess there was a minor change. Ramel Kighton was activated from the practice squad, and he split with DJ Turner. We weren't really using either much, but that's a little bit of a change. Brock Bowers obviously led the pass catchers and got a bunch of targets. Harrison Bryant played inline tight end. There were some changes at quarterback and running back. They switched out Gardner Minshew for Desmond Ritter mid-game, and Amir Abdullah led the team in snaps here. It's not just Alexander Madison locked in. Abdullah got a bunch of the pass work, and because they were behind, he got 25 pass plays, or 22 pass plays, 22 routes run to 11 for Alexander Madison. So Amir Abdullah playing a lot more in these game scripts, and they probably will have a lot of game scripts because they're a bad team. Negative game scripts, that is. Los Angeles Chargers here. Ladd McConkey led the way. Quentin Johnston returned, and he played the second most snaps. It was essentially so out of a total of 57, McConkey played 48, Quentin Johnston 39, Josh Palmer 35. McConkey's clearly still the top guy, but Quentin Johnston, as we know, and Josh Palmer can pop off, you know, in sporadic times. They're kind of boom bust, both of them, but Quentin Johnston, we can't ignore that he has these games every once in a while and he can get separation. He has that potential. So maybe a bench ad here. But McConkey's the main guy we trust. Tight end with Hayden Hurst back. Hayden Hurst didn't really play a whole lot, but he returned. Will Disley is still the more trusted guy, but again, he's still Will Disley. So it's hard to really throw him in lineups. Only 3 targets here after getting a bunch over the past few weeks. So you'd probably look elsewhere if you can. J.K. Dobbins, 42 snaps to 11 for Kamani Vidal. J.K. Dobbins is the man. Cleveland Browns, it was once again Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Elijah Moore. 79 snaps for Jeudy, 76 for Tillman, 60 for Moore. They threw a ton, so there were plenty of targets for everybody. Plenty of targets for Njoku. And Jordan Akins and Jeff Swaim did their inline stuff. But we were hoping for clarity here on who would really lead in targets, and we still kind of didn't get it. I mean, 11 for Jeudy, 10 for Tillman, 8 for Moore, 7 for Njoku. But in any given week, if any two of those guys were to lead the team, would you be surprised? I wouldn't be. Let's say next week this week it was Jeudy and Tillman. Next week, if it's Moore and Njoku, I wouldn't be shocked. So, I mean, as long as they're throwing a ton, then it doesn't matter. But 79 snaps is well above average. The average is like 63. So keep that in mind. There's going to be weird game scripts. Jerome Ford returned, and what they ended up doing was having Nick Chubb be the early down back and Jerome Ford the pass down back. So, kind of like the way the Ravens do it, where Nick Chubb got 15 carries, a la Derrick Henry, and Jerome Ford got 2 carries, but ran 30 routes like Justice Hill. Chubb only ran 9 routes. So it is a split there. Has us less bullish on Chubb. Guys in those type roles, unless they're getting a bunch of targets, which Ford only got 2, is also not a guy you really can start. But at least he's playing some, so his value isn't 0. Commanders at Giants. Terry McLaurin led here, but Noah Brown got 6 targets. He only played 31 of 62 snaps, but McLaurin only played 46 of 62. McLaurin ran 20 routes. Noah Brown ran 19. Those are the numbers right there that have us interested in adding Noah Brown. We were talking about it before, but 20 for McLaurin, 19 for Noah Brown. He's right there. Zach Ertz ran 15 of 25 routes. Only got 1 target. I mean, he was already a guy where it's like you need the targets because he has no yak, doesn't really score a lot of touchdowns. So if he's not going to be getting targets, it's tough to start him. I mean, we're still going to stick with him in in certain situations, but there's just so many options that have emerged that it's tough to like. We already told you don't have Ertz as your only tight end. You can start him for the time being. Make sure you have some upside on the bench. That's all. Without Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler started, but he and Jeremy McNichols kind of split the work in terms of you know Eckler got 11 carries, McNichols got 8, Chris Rodriguez got 11. The difference is that Eckler and McNichols ran routes where Rodriguez didn't really. Rodriguez only ran 2 routes, Eckler ran 13, McNichols ran 11. That's enough of a split though to make it annoying. It's not like when Brian Robinson is out, you can really trust one of them. I guess Eckler obviously got the targets and stuff, but you can throw them either one in, but we'll have to see with Brian Robinson back. New York Giants, Malik Neighbors leads 62 snaps. Darius Slayton 60. Wandell Robinson in the slot with 47. Jalen Hyatt barely played, which he should probably be looking for a trade over the next 24 hours. Theo Johnson went out 55 snaps, 22 of 29 routes, got some targets. Again, like he's in the mix there, but it's he's still behind Neighbors and Slayton and Robinson most weeks. But you could do worse for like a DFS or a deep league. But in most cases, we're not going to be projecting him to be a top 2 target on the team, which kind of cramps his upside a little bit. Tyrone Tracy, 47 snaps, 18 for Singletary. You love to see it. Tyrone Tracy is awesome, man. We said add that guy. You got to try and catch lightning in a bottle. These guys only come along so often. It's worth a try, right? So kudos if you did grab him. Patriots here, 66 snaps out of 69 for Kayshon Boutte. This has been something that's going on like every week ever since Drake May took over. They've elevated him. He gets a decent amount of work. So kind of interesting, though. Kendrick Bourne also played 54 snaps. Demario Douglas played 49. 6 targets for Butte, 6 targets for Bourne, 9 for Douglas. There are some trade rumors with Bourne and also Tyquan Thornton, so we'll have to see. Jalen Polk only played 9 snaps, so I don't know. They must not be happy with him in some of the comments, perhaps. Uh, Hunter Henry, he's the guy that we really like here. 60 of 69 snaps, 43 of 52 routes run, got a bunch of targets, caught 7 of them. I mean, like, what more can you ask for right now in a tight end? He should have already been added in every league you're in if you pay attention to what we talk about on these shows. But he's out there in a ton of leagues, so correct that if he's still out there. Add him before someone else gets a chance to. Drake May, we're worried about the concussion. Don't be worried. He ran a bunch, which is great. Ramondre Stevenson, 51 snaps. Michael Hasty, 10. Antonio Gibson, 8. So it was the Ramondre Stevenson show. He can be, he's not super efficient, but he's playing a ton. So we'll take it. On the Titan side, Calvin Ridley, 72 of 77 snaps. Nick Westbrook-Akine, 75. So he's in there with DeAndre Hopkins out. And then Tyler Boyd was kind of banged up. Jaquan Jackson, like only 23 and 22 snaps for those guys out of 77. So can't really put them in there. Chigakonkwo, promising usage, 30 of 38 routes run, got some targets. And down the stretch, these guys have a pretty good schedule. So keep an eye on him. Tony Pollard, 66 snaps to 13 for Julius Chestnut. When Tajay Spears is out, Tony Pollard gets all the work, which is nice. Cardinals Bears here. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson led on the outside, like always. Greg Dortch in the slot. Zay Jones only 11 snaps, 3 for Zach Pascal. Trey McBride played virtually the whole game, 52 of 58 snaps, 22 of 23 routes. He was open on a touchdown that didn't happen because Kyler scrambled around. But, Trey McBride's in your lineup every week. Don't even think about it. James Conner played less than usual. I'm not sure if he got banged up or what. 28 of 58 snaps. They let Trey Benson and Amari DiMercado get some carries and run some routes. So Trey Benson, 16 snaps to 14 for Amari DiMercado. So nothing crazy, but keep an eye on that. Trey Benson is definitely a stash considering the schedule for this team for running backs down the stretch is so good. I mean, we're talking Patriots, Panthers, and Rams. On the Bears side, DJ Moore, 73 of 74 snaps. That's all you need to know. He ran all 50 routes. Keenan Allen ran all 50 routes. Rome Odunze ran 47 of 50. They all got a bunch of targets. The tight ends, not so great. I mean, Cole Kmet ran 41 routes. Gerald Everett only 10. Everett got 1 target. Cole Kmet got 0. I don't know. They just took away the tight ends, and there was the Cardinals for the first time ever got a ton of pressure. So they probably held Komet in a little more than normal. So I don't know, just not. They are spending a lot of money. They spend the second most money. I tweeted this out. They have the second most money invested in the tight end this year, behind only the Chiefs. You cannot be giving these guys one target. Last week they combined for 2 catches for 17 yards. DeAndre Swift got 46 snaps. Roshan Johnson got 28. So Swift is getting more in all phases. Johnson playing a little bit, but nothing trustworthy levels. Uh, Jaguars at Eagles here. On the Eagles side, it was Devonta Smith, but A.J. Brown got banged up. That elevated Jahan Dotson and moved Johnny Wilson into the Jahan Dotson role. We'll have to see what happens with A.J. Brown, but it would be Jahan Dotson probably in a more full-time role if he's out. Dallas Goedert was out, so Grant Calcaterra played the whole game essentially. Saquon Barkley was doing incredible, amazing things, and Kenneth Gainwell continues to play over Will Shipley. On the Jaguars side, it was Brian Thomas Jr. playing through injury, 49 or 54 snaps. So he's a full go. 34 routes run out of 35. Parker Washington ran 33. Austin Trammell is your third guy. Actually played over Tim Jones, which I'm surprised because they seem to really like Tim Jones. Evan Ingram, as we talked about, is the guy that averaged over 10 targets a game without Christian Kirk. This week without Christian Kirk, he gets 10 targets. Doesn't have to be that hard. 31 of 35 routes run for Evan Ingram. He's locked in. Um, Tank Bigsby played 28 snaps. Travis Etienne played 17. D'Ernest Johnson played 13. So with Etienne coming back from injury, they kind of rotated everybody, which really sucks. But Etienne probably still the guy to own, you know, I guess, right? But I really don't like any of them, to be honest. Try and trade those guys. Lions at Packers at Lions here. The Lions took care of business. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you know, they didn't have to throw a ton. So 23 dropbacks. Amon-Ra St. Brown he was on 22 of them. Tim Patrick 18. Jameson Williams will be back next week, I believe. So unless like this gun stuff keeps him out or whatever, unless he gets put on the commissioner exempt list, I think he's going to be back. So it should be Amon Ra and JMO there. Sam Laporta, 18 routes of 23, only 3 targets because they didn't throw a ton. What are you going to do? And then David Montgomery played more than Jahmyr Gibbs, 32 snaps to 22, because that's what happens when they're winning. When it's a little more competitive game, Jahmyr Gibbs plays more. Green Bay Packers snap counts. Romeo Doubs led in snaps and routes run. No change there. Jaden Reed was second, but he was playing more of a slot role, so 44 of 65. And then Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks rotated on the other outside spot. 37 snaps for Watson, 35 for Wicks. So more of a rotation than it was last week. I don't know what decides that, but last week it was a huge difference. This week, split kind of down the middle again. Tucker Kraft, 65 snaps of 65. There's no Luke Musgrave, so he's an every down player, which is great. Uh, Even got a carry. Josh Jacobs, 36 snaps out of 65. Chris Brooks, 17. Emmanuel Wilson, only 13. So nobody you can even spot start there. When there's the backups are splitting, it's no good. Here we go. Los Angeles Rams at the Seahawks. Cooper Kupp, 71 of 77 snaps, 14 targets. He is back. Puka Nacua played. Just you can't make it up. The guy is banged up. We don't know if he's going to play. He does play, but then he throws a punch and gets ejected. Who would have guessed, man? That's NFL football for you. Demarcus Robinson is the third fiddle, and with Puka ejected, Tyler Johnson and Tutu Atwell split, and neither can be trusted. So it's Kupp and Nacua, and if you need a spot start, it's Demarcus Robinson. At tight end, Colby Parkinson was like an every snap player for a long time. This week, Davis Allen kind of took over, ran 21 routes to 20 for Parkinson, got 3 targets. I'm not saying pick up Davis Allen unless it's a crazy deep league because he's still only at a 50% route participation, but now pretty much none of these guys are trustworthy, is what I'm telling you. It's like the Colts, where it's just like can't trust any of them. We'll talk about them in a minute. Kyron Williams. So of 77 snaps, here's the split. Kyron Williams, 76. Blake Corum, 1. That's why we actually like Blake Corum as a handcuff, though, because if something happens to Williams, Corum could be getting those snaps. It's one of those things where it's like the best handcuffs at times are guys that don't play a lot because the role that they're going to inherit is a full role. If it's a split, sometimes like picture Justice Hill. If anything happens to Derrick Henry, they're not just going to give the whole job to Justice Hill. They're going to bring in Keaton Mitchell or split it some other way. In this case, they might just give it to Blake Corum. That's what makes him a top handcuff. Seattle Seahawks, JSN with no DK Metcalf, 71 snaps, monster game. Tyler Lockett, 71 snaps, not such a monster game, but still a lot of snaps. He scored a touchdown. Jake Bobo played 42 snaps. Cody White played 35. So nobody really to dig into there. DK will be back at some point. With Noah Fant out, AJ Barner played 73 of 80 snaps, got a bunch of targets. Didn't really handle them well, but 7 targets. We'll take that. Definitely a spot start if Noah Brown misses. Uh, Kenneth Walker, 61 snaps for him, 20 for Zach Charbonnet. So it's a Walker show. And when Walker gets hurt, they put Charbonnet in there. Last time that happened, he scored 2 touchdowns. So Charbonnet continues to be a handcuff plus. Vikings at Colts, Justin Jefferson, 72 of 73 snaps. Jordan Addison, 68. Naylor was next with only 20. So with Hawkinson back, they used a rotation of the tight ends. Josh Oliver, 41 snaps. Hawkinson, 33. They're easing Hawkinson in. He only ran 25 of 40 routes. We warned that that could happen. And until we see him ramped up, he has to be treated as not a tight end one for fantasy. Aaron Jones, 55 snaps. Cam Akers, 16. CJ Ham 13. So Aaron Jones way out in front. On the Colts side, Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman led on the outside, 48 and 41 snaps. Both ran 25 and 30 routes. Josh Downs is the slot guy, ran 20 of 30 routes, but it's Joe Flacco. So he got 8 targets. We love that. Tight ends, don't even worry about them. Don't think about them. This time, Andrew Ogletree led with 10 of 30 routes. Kylan Granson ran 8. Mo Alley Cox only ran 4. So and Will Mallory ran 3. So just don't worry about any of those guys. Even if we could get all the combined points from the tight ends there, we wouldn't even want that. Jonathan Taylor, 39 snaps. Trey Sermon, 14. Tyler Goodson, 1. So Taylor is the guy there. So that wraps it up. That's everything from Sunday. Enjoy Monday Night Football, folks. I'll be on the SiriusXM show with Jim Bowden tonight and tomorrow night and Thursday and Friday while Howard has some stuff going on with the family. Just keep them in your thoughts, and that's it. So check out all my content on Fantasy Alarm. Thank you for liking and subscribing and checking out this video, and we will catch y'all.